Hi there, I'm Cecilia Jane, and today we're going to be talking about and kind of going through this digital painting. So I know traditionally I normally do kind of like an intro with my face and everything, but for today's video I kind of just want to do something a little simpler. I wanted to share this piece of art that I made with you. I was really excited to make it. I didn't record it like while I was creating it just because it was kind of more something I did for fun. So that's why this video is going to be kind of formatted like we're going to go through the speed paint, kind of just talk about the painting in general. Also, I do just want to say that for the month of February, for my Patreon print, this is the print. My Patreon's the cheapest you're going to be able to get this print at $5 for a 5x5 and $10 for an 8x8. And also I sent out a monthly newsletter that talks about the artwork pretty in depth and also gives a little bit of an update about me and what I've been doing. And who doesn't love receiving mail? So yeah, $5 a month, you get this cute little package, I decorate it, you get a newsletter, and you get a print. So yeah, I'll put the link in the description if you're interested. And also for a limited time, I'm selling a 20x20 print of this for $35. Message me on Instagram if you are interested in that. Again, it is a limited time, so if you're watching this video in the future, probably like a month after something, I may not have it, but I might be able to, so just message me. I'll pop my Instagram somewhere up here for you guys, and also all my links are always in the description. Okay, so this is the Procreate app. That's what I created the picture on. This is just kind of like all my artworks, whatever. Maybe I'll go through my artwork sometime in a video. I think that would be a fun idea. So let's just click on this painting. As you can see, I have so many duplicates of it. Anytime I really feel like I make a decent amount of progress on the painting, I duplicate it because I'm always worried I'm either going to delete it or it's going to get to a point where I'm like, oh man, I liked it before and I can't like go that far back. So this is nice because then it kind of ensures that like if you liked it better at like the second step or something, you can go back and just kind of rework it without having to erase everything. I don't know if this is like a common strategy or a weird strategy. It's just something I do and I find it pretty helpful. So yeah, as you can see, pretty much anytime I made some major progress, I kind of duplicated it, which obviously you can delete these duplications at the end. I still haven't done that. I don't know why, like, it's probably taking up so much space, but like, I have an infinity for them and I don't want to delete them. As you can see, the one in the upper left is the finish one. However, I did go onto Photoshop and I actually did play around with like the curves, the saturation, maybe a little bit of the color balance, just things like that. I did play around with that just a tiny bit. So I will put the absolute finished piece right here so you guys can see it. Like I said, I did change like the curves, the saturation, things like that. All right, so now let's actually go into the piece. Okay, so this is the piece. Really quickly, just for like a little bit of background on this piece, I titled it Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. If you guys aren't familiar with that song, definitely go check it out. It's an amazing song. I actually came up with this idea before I thought of the title, so this isn't like themed around that song or anything, but I just thought of that song and I thought how perfectly it fit this because like there's no brain and there's pixies, so like I was just like, that's perfect. I don't know, it's just kind of a homage to the Pixies. They're awesome and I have seen them live. Again, in my Patreon newsletter I talk a little bit about the background, but briefly, I was inspired by pink tiles because I watched this YouTuber named Mia Maples. I'll pop her thing right here. Truly, I really only watch art YouTube videos, but for some reason I'm like obsessed with her videos. She's just so sweet and her family is so sweet and it's just like a good community. Like everyone's really sweet and she just does like kind of fun videos, like fashion-y. Again, I don't really watch like that kind of stuff, but for some reason I just love her videos. Anyway, she did a DIY making this like furniture piece with pink tiles, and I guess they were on my mind because I just thought they were gorgeous and pretty unique. So that's kind of where I got inspired by the pink tiles. I didn't think of that at the time, but looking back, I'm like, well, yeah, that's where I saw pink tiles. So I'm obviously inspired by that. For the rest of the painting, obviously, those of you who follow me know that I'm really into surrealism. And obviously this has like some surrealistic type aspects to it. And I just love nature, and who doesn't love pixies? They're just cool, or like fairies, you know. And then as far as like the overall idea of the painting, I know this sounds kind of strange, but I really do feel like I just kind of drew it. I'll put up a really quick like sketch I did of it. I think I did this like really quick sketch after a few minutes after waking up. It was just something that was in my head. Not to say that this is a great idea or anything, and I definitely don't think ideas just like pop out of nowhere. Like I think that's such a false, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's just a false like pretense. Is that the right word? Just a false idea. Maybe you do get a good idea and it seems somewhat random, but the fact of the matter is your inspirations are constantly influencing you whether you think it or not. So I'm not going to claim that this was just popped into my head like magic. That's just not the truth, but the actual idea of it. I did just kind of draw it and then things developed as I went. Okay, so now kind of on to more of the fun things. So I thought I'd share some of this information with you. It is 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels 400 DPI. Then you're allowed to use 18 maximum layers. I apparently use 14. I don't know what any of this means, but if you're of interest of it, there it is. Video settings, which we'll look at, and then the statistics. So it says I spent 16 hours and 32 minutes on it, which I think Procreate just tracks when you have the canvas open. So maybe like a tiny bit less than that. I was trying to look up how Procreate tracks, and that's kind of what I found. But like I said, I did spend some time on Photoshop like messing with the curves and things like that. So maybe it's closer to, I just say 17 hours, I just round up, but could be a little less. Like I said, I don't know exactly how accurate this time is, but I definitely did spend a lot of time on it. So this actual final one right here doesn't really have that many layers because I duplicated it and then I put these blend modes over it. One is like a very textured like speckles, if you guys can see that, and then I did it like kind of a peachy, and I put it on a different kind of blend mode, and then I did a blue one and a tangerine one. So this is what it looks like without the speckle one. Kind of helped darken it a little bit, and it added some texture. And then this blue one, you know, I just liked how it looked. And then the orange, I mostly just, as you can see, I erased some of it in the middle. I just kind of wanted that on the outside a little bit. So perhaps it'd be more fun to see my layers from the previous duplication. And this looks so different from the finished piece. Like, this looks so light. But yeah, so I have like, I always write notes of like things that I don't want to forget when I'm like close towards the end. But yeah, the way I do layers is somewhat random. Like, as you can see, layer 1 is really the bulk of the painting, like the pixies and the head. I don't know why I chose to do it all in one layer. That's kind of just how I did it. It did make things more difficult sometimes, but like her wings I put on a separate layer. That's just how things worked out. The plants are on a separate layer, and then the plant shadows are on a separate layer. And also the tiles are on a separate layer along with the tile shadows. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of rhyme or reason to why I did layers the way I do. I just kind of what made sense. I'm still fairly new to digital, so maybe a rhyme or reason will develop as I go. But for right now, I don't really have a whole lot to say on that, just because I don't even understand why I do what I do. So putting a little ellipse to make sure I got the ellipse of the head pretty accurate. Okay, let's go back to the more polished one, and then we'll go through the video. Okay, so here's the time-lapse replay. As you guys can see, I just kind of used a yellow ochre to sketch out everything, and then as you guys can see, I'm gonna go back there. I wrote notes again. I wrote like things for inspiration, things I didn't want to forget, and then you can always go back to that layer and open it and just kind of view the notes you had, or you can just write them in your sketchbook or whatever. That's just the way I do it. And truly, there was probably not enough planning for this painting, if to tell you the truth. Like I said in my sketchbook, I did that really quick little crappy drawing, and I honestly feel like if I like kind of explored the idea further in my sketchbook before, I wouldn't have taken so long to complete it, because this fairy right here, her pose, I reworked and then finally changed the pose, and I just did so much reworking with that I feel like if I really had thoroughly sketched out my sketchbook before, I probably wouldn't have had to deal with that. So yeah, it's always kind of good to figure things out beforehand if you can. I kind of just jumped right into it. Normally I do a lot more process work like thumbnails and such like that, but with this one I think I was just eager to get started. As you can see, I'm using like a finer brush and kind of going in and trying to figure out some of the details. You know, you kind of cherry pick which is more exciting, what you want to work on. So obviously I was like excited to work on these fairies. Maybe I'll try to include like a little bit of a video of some of the references I used to show you guys how you can use reference in your work. But yeah, here I created the tiles. I used the grid, and then on a separate layer I just filled in the grid with like pink squares, and I ended up like duplicating some of them and pasting them, as you guys can see, just to make the process a little quicker. And I just kind of put them where I needed them, but then as I progressed, I realized like I didn't fill in all the pieces, so I kind of had to go back a little. Yeah, then I'm just like shading the face, working on it. I'm just going to go over this kind of quickly because there's not really a lot for me to talk about here. Just kind of going in with different brushes, and I'll try to remember to show you guys some of the brushes I used. Yeah, I just kind of start putting in colors, kind of seeing what I think for colors. Originally she had blonde hair, and then I changed that, and the plants kind of were in a different direction right in the beginning, but then I decided to make it more like tropical feeling. Yeah, the plants were kind of really roughly drawn in for a while, and I also had a hard time with this girl's hand because I wanted her to be holding like a cigarette, and there weren't a lot of reference photos of, like, there were a bunch of reference photos of people holding cigarettes with their hands, but none with their thumb facing away, if that makes any sense, like her thumb's facing away. I did end up changing that hand, but I changed it again even from that, but I had some difficulties with that. And this is the pose I'm talking about. That was just like not I just tried and tried, looked up so many references, and then I realized like, hey, maybe that's not even the best pose. That doesn't even look like she's relaxing that much. So, and then here I kind of went in and refined the leaves. There you go. You can see some of the reference I was using. Again, I did scrap this pose entirely, but all credits to the photographer, by the way, for that photo. It's not my photo. I was just referencing it for like the muscles and like how your arm would work. I did keep the leaves like a little more painterly. As you can see, they're not super polished. I think when you're in the video, the quality is not as good, so this isn't as crisp as it was at the time. The video like doesn't show it as crisp. Maybe if I exported it, it would, but then I can't do all the zoom up and rewind and fast forward features. So hopefully it's still good enough for you guys. But yeah, so I was just playing around with plants, adding some shadows to the tiles, adding some depth to the plants. I played around with the plants a lot, like if I wanted them to stand out as much as they were, if I didn't, etc. Here I even had my friend, Kirsten, if you guys are familiar with her. She's my roommate and best friend. I'll pop her Instagram, go follow her. She's really talented. I had her kind of try to help me figure out how it would go. So she kind of sketched this over, and then I tried to fix things, and we still didn't like how that looked. So we eventually changed the pose to this, which I was a lot happier with in the end. It just didn't look as awkward. I mean, I still had some troubles with it, but overall it was a lot better. Yeah, and then here I'm just kind of redefining the leaf, just adding highlights, shadows. And then as you can see, I was playing around with a lot of different things with the leaves, like if I wanted them to stand out, if I wanted them to be more pink, if I wanted them more yellow, or vice versa. Yeah, so just a lot of experiments there. And then here's really where I start to go redefine a lot of things, really just polish things, bring in a lot of the detail. As you can see, things change a lot in this stage. I don't want this video to be too long, that's why I'm kind of trying to fast forward this just a little bit. Yeah, again, just continuing to redefine things. I realized I had her ear like this, and then I realized that's not how the ear would be. The ear would be like that, so I went and changed that. And also I realized that ear wouldn't show, so I got rid of that. Which again, that's kind of what I mean. If I had sketched out earlier, I probably would have figured those things out before. Experimented with the tiles a lot, like what kind of colors I wanted them. I wanted everything to look very cohesive. Like I wanted the purples of her skin to be in here. I wanted the blue of that to be there, the blue of that to be there. Like I wanted this to all be very cohesive. I think the green feels a little like it doesn't belong as much, but I tried to incorporate some purple highlights and things like that. I really wanted to try to play with somewhat of a limited color palette and also still make it look cohesive. So that's why, for example, the towel is the color of her skin and kind of the bath water and her wings, and then pink is same as her skin, is same as some of the pinks here. And the tile, I just really wanted things to be cohesive. Again, I'm not entirely sure how successful I was with that, but overall I'm very happy with the piece. So I definitely think I thought about it a lot more than I have in previous pieces, and that's all you can hope for, right? It's improvement in your current pieces. But yeah, this stuff is, you're not really going to see as big of a jump in progress because it is a lot of little details and nitpicking and doing all the details in the hair. Here we go. Here's fixing her hand from that to that, which I think is a lot better. Not just because it's more detailed, but also just because of the sizing and the posing. I think it just looked a lot better. And so yeah, again, I play with a lot of things at the end. I added the steam from the hot tub, as you can see there. I got rid of some of it, added more, went back and forth a lot, played with the modes, and then yeah, that's kind of the final piece. I mentioned I wanted to show you guys some of the brushes really quickly that I used, so if you're still interested, I used the Spectra, this one, for pretty much the majority of the time. As you can see, everything's very brushstrokey. Again, I have those little textures from that one overlay I did. The various textures in this piece and the more painterly kind of effect is from the Spectra brush. So if you like how that looks, I would say try this brush. I think I did change the maximum size and the minimum size, because for things for the hair, I really did want some finer pieces of hair and stuff, so that's why I changed that. But yeah, I would say a majority of the piece was done in this. I was thinking about showing you guys some of the references I used, but I don't know, I just things with copyright and stuff can get messy. I didn't copy anything exactly, obviously. It's literally I just used a picture of a girl's face turned to a profile, and I obviously did not copy it exactly at all. But I don't know, I just don't know the photographers and stuff, so that's why I'm a little wary to show you guys. But basically I would just Google image, I'd be girl turned at 3/4 angle, or people chilling in a hot tub, and we'll use references for that, or glass of lemonade, and combine different references. That's the thing, is when you're using references, if you just pick a bunch of of them and kind of use from all of them. It's more okay than just using one reference. So that's what I always try to do in my pieces. Like none of these faces are copied exact. These, like I didn't even use reference for the faces of these ones. This drawing that I ended up with of this individual looked nothing like the people. Like I think one of the references was even like a famous celebrity. I can't remember her name, but this does not look like any of those people. I just used it kind of to get an idea of where the eyes would be, an idea of where the nose would fall, things like that. So, but yeah, so this is the finished piece. Again, I'll put another big picture of like the absolute finished piece. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Again, go become a Patreon, get this print. Let me know if you want a 20 by 20 huge print hanging in your room. But yeah, hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed this video. I don't know, again, it was a different format, so let me know what your thoughts are. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or thought it was entertaining. Comment down below, what are your favorite Procreate brushes to use? So I'm always looking for, you know, more brushes and things like that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I am trying to post more regularly. I've got some really exciting content coming up really soon, so be sure to stick around and hit that notification bell. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye. And now it's time to thank my wonderful patrons who support me as an artist and get some awesome rewards in return, like this print I talked about in the video. So if that's something that interests you, check out the link in the description.